Perhaps, like me, you can become obsessive, wanting to know all the details. You want to have all the right strategies in place. You've considered a plan A, a plan B, and a contingency plan. And in these times, you've become really consumed with all of the details of life, and you're even afraid to make a step because you don't want to make a mistake. So maybe this scripture is for you today. Psalm 139, verses 5 to 6. I find it really helpful. It says this: I look behind me and you are there. Then up ahead and you're there too. Your reassuring presence coming and going. This is too much, too wonderful. I can't take it in. Most of us are familiar with the analogy of thinking about life as a journey. We're travelling forwards, we're on a road. Do we turn left? Do we turn right? Which way do we go? Those decisions, a journey, that's going through life. However, when I think about my life, I think it feels far more complex than that, because there are so many options and so many things that I can do. It's more than left or right. And so I like to think of my life in terms of a huge puzzle, a huge dot to dot. And that dot to dot for me represents all of the different spots that I could step onto. But I have to do that with a recognition, in the same way that David does, that God is there. Because sometimes the next step is a step behind us or to the side. And David says God is behind him. God is there. Sometimes the next step is ahead. God is there too. And David describes the reassuring presence of God everywhere. So in the midst of these multiple decisions that we have to make, God is there. And what does David say? This is too much. It's too wonderful. I cannot take it all in, because the complexity of our lives is such that God sees the whole thing. God's perspective, God's eye view, it's something that many people have spoken of before. He sees the whole thing. We don't see the whole thing. We don't have God's perspective and God's eye view. And this is what David says is too wonderful. This is what David says when he says, I can't take it all in. He recognizes that fact. The complexity of our lives, and God knows it all, but wait for it. Not only does he know the full details of my life and every detail and every step, every decision that I have to make, he knows yours too. And the next thing, all of our lives intertwined together make up a beautiful picture of this complex puzzle dots. If you just think back and look at a picture that is pixelated with all those tiny dots together, each little dot, each little step is minuscule in the full plan and picture of God's purposes for our lives together as his people on this earth. No need to be afraid. By faith, we continue to take a step, one dot at a time, on this huge dot to dot. Thank you.